Good morning. My name is Amanda Rivera. I'm the hearing examiner presiding over today's case. The date is September 25th, 2025, and this is case DCI 2024-00039. This is a rezoning request from a CPD to an IPD for property along Luckett Road. Because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, all evidence and testimony must be taken under oath. So if you intend to speak, if you could please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will provide is the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. So the way that we'll proceed this morning is first we're going to hear from the applicant. They'll present their request in the case and call any witnesses that they have in support of that request. Following that, we will hear from the county staff who will present their recommendation in the case. They are recommending approval with conditions and 4 deviations. After that, we'll open public comment. That's when I'll call forward the cards that I have in the order that I have them. There is only one opportunity to speak, so I encourage you to take notes as we go through things this morning to make the most of your time at the podium. And if you intend to speak at the board hearing, you must speak at the hearing today, and your comments would be limited to what you say here today. After we finish public comment, we'll come back to the applicant and the staff for their rebuttal and any closing comments that they may have. So with that, we can begin. I did receive the affidavit of publication in the 48-hour notice, and that was sufficient, so we can begin whenever the applicant's ready.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. My name is Josh Philpott, for the record. I have previously been sworn as an expert in planning and zoning in this form and would request to be accepted as such today.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Before I begin, I do have a paper copy of the presentation.
Okay. Yes, if I could take that, please. Thank you.
I've already given one to the corporate order and staff.
Okay, and I did receive applicant's 48-hour letter as well, so that was pre-labeled applicant exhibit 1, so the PowerPoint presentation will be applicant exhibit 2.
All right. All right. Can we make this full screen or no?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, no worries.
There you go.
All right, thank you. All right. Today I'd like to go through the application briefly, a little bit of the background, a little bit of the history of the project, the existing conditions, the existing zoning, and then the request. And today with me, I have Joel Blickstad. Joel is an engineer with Stantec, and he will be presenting later. And so I would request, would you prefer to go ahead and do I would request that he be accepted as an expert. He has not previously been accepted in this forum before. We do have a copy of his resume.
Okay, yeah, if we could qualify him now, just in case there's questions that come up prior to that.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, please stepping to the podium. Thank you. Thank you. And I believe this was included in the 48-hour as well. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Was, yes.
Good morning. If you could just briefly describe your experience.
Yeah, thank you. For the record, Joel Blickstad. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Florida with 12 years of experience here in the local, all within the local area, doing hundreds of projects throughout the Southwest Florida area. Like I mentioned, I'm a professional engineer. I've been practicing for the last, since 2017, so well qualified in the areas of stormwater and the local municipalities. So.
You said Southwest Florida, but specifically with Lee County and the
Specifically with Lee, Lee, Collier, and Charlotte.
And the South Florida Water Management District as well?
South Florida, yes.
Okay, so you've got expert experience in kind of how the confluence of the codes work between those two agencies?
That's correct, yes.
And you prepared the site design, I assume, and the stormwater management?
I did, yes, all under my supervision or directly done by me.
Okay, thank you. Did Steph have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. All right. Just to walk through the introduction of the property. It's approximately 6.35 acres located on the south side of Luckett Road, just a little bit east of the intersection of Luckett and I-75. It's highlighted or outlined on this slide. Just a little bit to the east is residential, and I'll get into some of the surrounding zoning or surrounding land uses and zoning in future slides, but generally this is the location of the property. Now with an aerial, you can see that the subject property is, a majority of the property is cleared. There are some, it's cleared for agriculture or horse pasture uses. There is a single-family home on the east side of the property. And in the northeast corner, there are some trees that with limited understory, though, because of the grazing nature of the animals on the site. It really has limited understory. There are some existing trees in varying conditions. Some of them have been beaten up pretty good through the hurricanes over the last several years, but that's the existing conditions. You can see how the lake on the kind of southeast corner of the site extends up into the property, and we'll get into that in a little bit. One thing to note is through some communications with staff, we understand that there's going to be a stormwater concern from adjacent property owners and nearby residents, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. So, so existing land use, our surrounding land uses. To the east, on the northern portion of the site, are single-family homes. To the south and to kind of the southeast is the Lazy J RV and mobile home community. We do have that stormwater pond that I just mentioned. To the west, excuse me, I'm saying that backwards. To the west of the site is single-family homes. To the east are single-family homes. Let's see if I can get a laser here. It's behind this this graphic, but single-family homes that are zoned agricultural. To the south and to the southwest is the Lazy J mobile home community, and to the west along the northern portion of the site are single-family homes, and those are actually zoned RS1. Luckett Road is to the north, and then a mixture of industrial uses along the to the north of that, to the north of Luckett. The existing zoning. So the property is currently zoned commercial plan development. I'll dive into the existing zoning of this property here shortly, but in the surrounding area, again, to the north is CPD. There is a somewhat of a remnant, majority of it is right-of-way ag zoning, but to the northeast is, or kind of the eastern half of anyway, is IL. Light industrial. To the north east is general commercial, and again, that's one of the most intense zoning categories we have in Lee County. Directly to the east is on the corner of Hamilton and Luckett is kind of a forested parcel zoned AG2, and then the properties to the south are south of that, really to the west of the site, but south of the corner parcel is they're all zoned AG2, but developed with single-family homes with access on Hamilton Drive. Again, the Lazy J community is zoned MH2, and it is to both the south and southwest of the site. And then to the west is RS1, single-family homes. The property is in the intensive development future land use classification, and I will rely on the staff or the application materials to really outline which describe or go through a detailed narrative of compliance with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. I've highlighted a few of these policies in the comprehensive plan that apply to this request. The property is in the intensive development future land use classification that does allow for, really it allows for the highest development intensity from a residential perspective, but it also allows for commercial, office, and light industrial uses. The property to the northeast is industrial development. That is a site directly across the street is currently used as a vehicle and equipment dealer, rental and leasing establishment that is consistent with the request that we have here today. But the site is served by water and sewer. The existing infrastructure is adequate. Even the most detailed or the most intense land use classification as far as a traffic impact statement goes is 51 PM peak. That is using an auto car dealership, which is what staff requested us to use. We believe that's a little bit more intense than this use will generate, but even with that, 51 PM peak hour trips does not trigger any major transportation issues. Water and sewer is available. We will discuss stormwater here shortly. And then also policy 7.1.1 in the comprehensive plan really goes through a detailed list of what industrial development must comply with. And we outline that, the consistency with that policy in our narrative. And so we do believe that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. A little bit of history and the CPD. So the property was zoned commercial plan development in 2003. It allowed for 8,500, this is the existing zoning, I should say, 8,500 square feet of building area and 75,000 square feet of outdoor vehicle and display area. The permitted uses really are highlighted on the left side of the screen, with two of the main uses being that of vehicle and equipment dealers group 1 and 4. And just for clarification, group 1 is a vehicle and equipment dealer for cars and trucks. And then group 4 is basically dealerships for RVs, trailers, buses. It does allow for open storage. As you can see on the site plan, there is open storage allocated, and as well as a caretaker's residence. The request that we have here today in front of you actually is very consistent with the previous approval, with a few minor differences that I'd like to point out. So where the previous allowed for 8,500 square feet of building area, we are requesting 12,000 square feet of building area, approximately 3,500 square foot difference. But the other side of that is that we've reduced the outdoor display area from 75,000 down to approximately 71,000. So it almost washes out as far as the square footage area. And then we are requesting to change from commercial plan development to industrial plan development. There are some nuances in that, in the way the code is applied, but in general, it's very consistent with the previous. We are requesting 2 additional uses: vehicle and equipment dealer group 4 and rental and leasing vehicle and equipment dealer group 5 and rental and leasing establishments group 4. Now those are for construction equipment, and generally this is intended to be developed in a manner that is similar to Sun Rentals or with the property across the street, generally. Same use, same request, same proposed use anyway. And in addition to those uses, we have provided for enhanced buffers. We are actually creating along the eastern property line an indigenous open space, replanting that property line and preserving several of the heritage trees in that northeast corner. While the previous zoning did have some protections of the heritage trees. Many of those trees since 2003 have been destroyed or heavily damaged. We did protect those ones in the northeast corner, along with enhancements and replanting of that area to serve as the buffer. In addition to that, we have a wall along the eastern, southern, and then the western, the southern portion of the western property line as it wraps around the existing lake, and then along the western property line adjacent to the single-family homes to the west.
So essentially, just to kind of distill that down, the existing zoning allows for essentially a similar use, but smaller vehicles?
Yes. Oh, no, actually, no, it does not allow for the construction. The bobcats, the skid steers, those small smaller construction equipment, but yes, construction equipment in general. There's not, unfortunately, there's not a delineation in the use codes that say dump trucks and skid steers, you know, but that's the requested use.
But the use that's across the street, you said is similar, but I believe that's a CPD?
That is, actually it's zoned, and I will go back real quick, it's zoned IL, light industrial.
Okay, it's not on the CG property, it's on the IL property.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. We did request 4 deviations, and I'll run through those really quick. I'm sorry. Again, these are outlined in the application materials in more detail, but we are requesting a deviation for intersection separation. This was previously approved as part of the existing zoning. We're actually increasing that separation distance from the existing approved separation distance to align it with Golden Lake Drive across the street. One thing you'll notice as well is that the property line kind of dives off to the south, kind of curves down to the south on the western side of the site. That is due to a taking for widening purposes, due to the future intent to widen Luckett at some point in the future. We requested a deviation from the indigenous restoration area to serve as the type F buffer. So while we are proposing a buffer along the west, we're requesting that to be an indigenous restoration area. It actually exceeds the requirements of a type F buffer, but once planted and installed. But because of the code requirements, we needed to request the deviation. Number 3 is reduced setback for an excavation. So as part of the proposed development, as you can see, we are proposing to kind of backfill a portion of this and compensate that with an excavation on the southeast corner of the property. So just basically reconfiguring that stormwater lake. That will be required to go through South Florida Water Management District and be permitted. And again, we're going to go through that a little bit more in detail here shortly. But because the way this curves around, we needed to request a deviation from the reduced setbacks for excavation from property lines. It meets all the other requirements, and again, it will be permitted. Yeah, so we requested a deviation from that reduced setback for excavations. And then finally, the Land Development Code requires 100 foot for outdoor storage from property lines. In this unique case where the orientation of the property lines and the way the property line kind of extends to the lake, if this were traditional, property lines, they would not, the community property line or the shared property line would not be in this configuration. They would be lots. So because of that, we've requested a deviation for a reduced setback from outdoor storage of 100 feet. And it only applies to this corner. That is the request here. And while we are requesting 71 feet, I believe it will be over 100 feet from the property line, so, or from the adjacent property. So it's, yes. So this, while it's hard to read on this, this exhibit here, that actual measurement is 101 feet. So
The deviation is requesting 30 feet along the east property line and 40 feet along the west property line. So is that,
it is, okay, yeah, so that's this,
the narrow?
the narrow portion here. We indicated 71 because the measurement from this corner, or the way it's worded in this language is from this corner to that point, that outdoor, or that point is 71 feet.
Is it needed along, because the code, I think it only requires the 100 feet if it's a residential property. So is the lake considered a residential property? Or
Well, because it's mobile home, it's zone mobile home, because, yes.
That's what the zoning is on the
That's
lake
the
part.
zoning, yes, so- and because it's all one parcel, but yes, that, if, correct, there we
Where
go.
it says concrete apron, that's going to be the outdoor display area? That's what you're measuring from?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
All right. With that, I will ask Joel to come up and discuss the existing stormwater as well as the proposed stormwater management and development intensity, or the development plan for that, so. Joel.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Josh. Again, for the record, Joel Blickstead, I'm a professional engineer. He briefly touched on it, but the proposed plan, as currently shown, is to fill in a portion of the lake, the existing lake here, and compensate with equivalent storage here. I say equivalent meaning that the areas will be exactly the same, so there will be no decrease in storage, stormwater storage for the adjacent site. The stormwater plan for our project is proposed that these blue arrows here show that, generally speaking, these will be either slope to drain or there will be internal drainage that will direct runoff into our own stormwater system, not the lake, but our own stormwater system here generally on the west property line and here on the south property line, which will provide a majority of the stormwater storage needed for this property. It will then have an overflow that will discharge to this existing lake. And then the existing lake will be getting an upgrade to restore flow, historic flow to Luckett Road, roadside swale. So I think I mentioned here, all on-site areas will be directed to those detention areas first and then to the lake. The lake will be reshaped with the same capacity. We will do a stormwater analysis at development order, which will include, as part of our analysis, will include the mobile home in our analysis to ensure that those flooding issues are addressed and that this is permitted all together. South Florida will require that. We also recognize that that's a concern and what any good engineer should do. And then, like I mentioned, there will be a control structure added with hard piping into the Luckett Road swale to restore historic flow out of this lake and have a discharge location. So,
Do you know if the CPD ever applied for the ERP? Did they get to this level?
I don't believe they applied for the ERP. They did obviously get a development order, which showed a similar configuration. It showed a pipe coming out of the existing lake, just kind of ran through the site and then had a discharge, and that was permitted that way through Lee County. Didn't ever make it fully through.
Is there a master ERP to your knowledge of the lake that's serving the mobile homes, or it's just kind of developed over time?
It's kind of developed over time. This would, as part of this development, we'll we will bring it all up to code and solidify that in an official environmental resource permit.
Do you know what the current site conditions are? Is it just sheet flowing into the lake essentially, or what's the directional flow?
Current site conditions, yeah, for the mobile home, sheet flow into the lake as well as ours. There's a little bit of pooling that occurs approximately in this area on the site. It generally overflows into Luckett Road. We are aware that there was an existing swale through here that through years of time has filled in, hasn't gotten maintained, and so recognizing that there are some residents here that have some flooding concerns because that historic flow has been not maintained. And so this project proposes to rectify that and put that in solidify that in a hard pipe condition, which is obviously a lot more permanent.
So after the development, if it develops in accordance with this, your opinion would be that it would be an improvement of what the off-site flooding impacts are from this property to the
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, we will be doing a modeling analysis to ensure that none of the existing homes out here, as well as our site, obviously, don't flood, except in the extreme storm events, greater than 100 years. So. With that, I'll turn it back over to Josh to finish up the presentation.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So, just real fast, comparing what you're doing with the lake on this plan compared to what was previously approved, because I don't think they were doing a compensatory and filling, because there was a home on the site, is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, I have the existing plan in front of me. If you would like a copy of it from the previous development order. It's from the development order.
Oh, okay.
The CPD, I believe, matches pretty close.
Yes, please. So that'll be applicant
Beth.
exhibit 3.
Beth, I can give you a copy of this.
That's fine.
So there is a current DO that was approved for the CPD, it just never developed?
Yes, this is under. Yeah, this is DOS 2003-00281. Obviously, it's since expired. It was never built. But as part of this, and I guess we can't pull it up on the screen, but they were not proposing any modifications to this lake at that time. But they were proposing their own small little stormwater management area, generally actually where we have them. I would say less capacity based on just the areas that are shown. So we are actually proposing additional stormwater capacity on our site, as well as keeping equivalent capacity for what we're proposing to expand, reshape the whole lake bank there. Does that answer your question?
Yep, that answers my question. I just wanted to see that, because I know the single-family home remained on that plan. Kind of we're working around that single-family home. Thank you.
Yep. Josh?
Thank you, Joel. And there was a specific question that was asked, and I want to kind of go back to see if I can pull up this aerial. It's very faint to see, and Joel touched on it, but in the there historically has been this drainage way that kind of as the lake fills, it does kind of go through this swale and outfalls into Luckett Road. Now, that's historically been there. There have been activities in the past that appear to have filled it in. There were some violations. They have been since closed. But you can see on this aerial this drainage kind of swale that extends out and goes into Luckett. And if you do a site visit, you'll see that. So there is, how prominent is it? How well maintained is it? Those are, questions I think that, and with the agricultural nature of it, how well is it maintained over time? But as part of the proposed development, as Joel's indicated, we are proposing to include permanent and piped connection to maintain that connection and address those overflow conditions, and again, permit all this through South Florida Water Management District. And again, it's consistent with the previously approved DO that's now vacated, but expired, excuse me. But that's it. Again, just to kind of go through overview, we do believe that the proposed application as presented and submitted is consistent with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan, that it does comply with the Land Development Code requirements, along with being supported by conditions from staff's approval that we agree with. It is compatible with the surrounding uses and consistent with the other uses in the area, and it does meet the criteria, and again, this is detailed in the application materials, but it meets the criteria for the findings of approval found in 34-145. With that, if there are any questions that we need to go back and answer, we're here.
None at this time. Did staff have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for staff whenever you're ready, Beth.
You might need that.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. For the record, my name is Beth Workman. I am a principal planner in the zoning section, and I am the lead reviewer for the case before you today, Luckett Road zoning amendment. It is DCI 2024-00039. I do have a copy of the PowerPoint for applicant and hearing examiner.
Thank you. That will be Staff Exhibit 3. Staff Exhibit 1 is the staff report, and then Staff Exhibit 2 is the 48-hour letter. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Mr. Philpott went through the case thoroughly. I'm just going to give some highlights and fill in some gaps on some things. The request is to rezone from commercial plan development to industrial plan development. The site is 6.35 acres. Mr. Philpott went through definitely the differences. I will highlight that there are, in the original commercial plan development, there was a caretakers. There is not a caretakers. They're going to eliminate the single family home on the site. And so they're going to add the vehicle equipment dealer, group 5, add the rental and leasing, group 4, for the construction equipment sale and rental. Mr. Philpott went through the differences in the square feet, which was important because of the reduction in the outdoor equipment display area, and the maximum building height is 35 feet. So going through the master concept plan, so this is the 12,000 square foot building. The mechanical building is down here, 1,500 square feet. And then you have the display area in the hatching and pointed out and labeled right here. Kind of works around the property. The preserve is in the eastern side of the property, and it runs along that eastern property line. And then the wall, there's a perimeter wall that's added on the back side of that preserve and labeled and goes along the eastern, the southern, and the western side of the property. So the current approval, as I mentioned, it does have the caretaker's residence with similar uses that are in the current rezoning case, with the addition of the vehicle and equipment, group 5, and the display sale. And that kind of gives you the square feet of the differences between the two. And this was the master concept plan. Similar configuration. As you can see, there's the single family home, the existing buildings that will be removed. There's the existing lake that will be filled in and compensatory put in. But the same layout with how that display sale in the current master concept plan with the preserve right here. We're not preserving in this area because, as Mr. Philpott pointed out, the trees in that area, the heritage trees, are damaged. They were damaged in subsequent storms since the original rezone. So comparing the two, I provided this slide just so you can see the difference. So you can see that that's the fill-in of the lake we're creating because of the single-family home going away. We have this additional compensatory area to make up for the filling of this area. So where are we located? So we are along Luckett Road, and we abut Luckett Road. We are west of Interstate 75. It is in the intensive development future land use category, which provides the preferable uses, and that's what the future land use category does. So it lays out what we kind of want the area to look like. And across the street, you can see that there are some more intensive development, and then you have the industrial future land use, the industrial development future land use category with the industrial interchange hugging I-75. So you can kind of see the intensification as you work towards I-75. The character of the area, Mr. Philpott went through this thoroughly, describing the adjacent properties and the uses, and those are important because when staff reviews a rezoning case, we're looking for compatibility. And compatibility is important because we have a Lee plan policy that states that we cannot put uses in that affect the surrounding uses. And so we need to provide screening or buffering or bigger setbacks to protect the existing or planned uses around a property. So in this case, we do have residential that are on the western side. We do have the mobile home park to the southwest. We do have agricultural zone property, but with single family homes currently on them. And then across the street, we have Luckett, and then we have our more intensification, the IPD, CPD, and then some more IL. So you have intensification in this area. Further to the east, we have, as I mentioned, with the future land use category, an industrial plan development that is abutting I-75. So the surrounding land uses I kind of went over, and Mr. Philpott did a good job going through that, which, again, like I said, drives how we screen, how we review this for compatibility. Transportation is looked at to compare what was previously looked at, or like what exists on the site is the single family detached on an ag property. So that gives the total trips. This is from the transportation study that was done. The proposed trip generation for the new use comes out to 365 daily trips compared to the 9. And through the review of the traffic impact statement.
I'm sorry, if you can someone silence the phone, please. Okay, we'll just pause.
That's okay. It has a good ring to it.
I know.
You can really get down. You good? Thank you. I need some comic relief in these things, so I appreciate that. Okay, so the transportation is reviewed to look at what the current use, what the proposed use will generate on the surrounding roadway network. And then we look at the type of road. So Luckett Road is an arterial, so it can handle these 365 daily trips. And as Mr. Philpott pointed out, staff, when they reviewed this, had the applicant do an analyzation to automobile sales used, which could generate a little bit more traffic. This is going to be construction equipment, heavy machinery. It's a specialty, so it probably will be less, but I'm not a traffic engineer. But just compared to what they did the worst case scenario. The transportation access. So there was a taking that was done, and in the staff report, the warranty deed staff provided to show that why there is that weird jog along that north property line, and that's to make way for a widening, as Mr. Philpott pointed out. So transportation weighed in, and they just pointed out in their staff memorandum that at time of development order, a lot of the improvements to the roadway network will be evaluated a little bit deeper with what needs to happen. For instance, they will analyze the off-site roadway improvements and to see if there's going to be a median opening that needs to happen, which they wanted to put the applicant on notice to make sure that they were aware of improvements from that taking that fits in there. So this will not have a detriment on the surrounding roadway network. As mentioned, there is a deviation. There was an original deviation that was for more intersection, a bigger amount, a larger number, and this has gone down some, but still doesn't meet the code. So we still had to recognize that, but kind of fix the 411. It went from 411. Environmental. This is the Florida land use cover and classification map. And this shows what is currently on site. And staff uses this to determine whether there are indigenous areas, so native areas, because in our land development code, we protect those areas if it's a large project. So that's why you see the preservation of the existing trees, because in that 212 area, there are some native habitat in that unimproved pasture. So we do have some native trees that we're incorporating in the site design and along the eastern property. And what that does is it helps to maintain that visual screening that naturally is occurring there to the neighboring property. So that will not change for the neighboring property. And then the addition of the wall, which I'll get into the buffers a little bit more. And then there's the indigenous habitat restoration. The restoration in the protected species survey and restoration plan provided a list of plant material that is going to be proposed along that eastern buffer. In addition, there is an 8-foot wall that's set back 30 feet. And the plant material in the condition and the zoning for the buffer must meet the land development code specifications for type F buffer. So it's going to meet 10 feet. As you can see, the trees are at 5 and 4. That's for restoration, but we do have it in the condition that if the landscape plan calls out those to meet the F buffer, that has to be 10 feet to meet our specs in the land development code. And that goes along with this deviation, stating that the restoration plants can be used to meet the buffer requirement for the type F. However, in condition 4B, as renumbered in the staff 48-hour letter, the F buffer must meet the plant specifications in section 10-421. So the north buffer is a 15-foot wide buffer, and it does contain trees and shrubs running along the north side. There is no wall proposed along the north side. The southern buffer is 25 feet, and it has an 8-foot wall that's set back 25 feet and has trees and shrubs, and the applicant provided a cross-section just to kind of give a feel for like where the property line is, and then there's a berm, and then you can see this is the F buffer, have the trees and shrubs in it, and then there's the 8-foot wall.
Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. So it says type C, and then the slide says type F. So which one?
The condition is a type E per code.
Okay.
So this is type C. They're the same. So it's just one has a wall. We have a wall. And it's conditioned in 4. Condition 4 has a wall condition that spells out where the wall is going. So it's very clear for the development order reviewer and the applicant. So this is the adjacent property line with the enhanced type F buffer. I spoke about this. This is the display area, and we have the wall, the 30-foot wide F buffer, and the property line. So the restoration's going to go in this area, and then the 8-foot wall that will be measured from the grade of the parking or the display area. And then we're going to travel along. This is going to be the west property line. So this is the single family over on this area, as well as the mobile home park. This again is the type E, because we're industrial to the residential. And that has an 8-foot wall. So this is the property line right in here. Again, this says C, but it should be E. And then there's a wall along that area. The open space, it is industrial. So large developments for industrial require a 20% open space requirement. The applicant is meeting that requirement. When a site is a large development, over 10 acres, or over 2 acres of impervious, the applicant must provide an indigenous acreage. The indigenous acreage is calculated by half of the required open space. So 20% is the required open space or green space on a site. 10%, half of that, must be represented in indigenous, so native vegetation, and that is the indigenous preserve right in here. Surface water management, there is an existing ditch that was explained. This is the existing drainage flow that's occurring right now on the site. So you see the little blue squiggles, the arrows, and that's the way that the water is flowing through the site. This ditch did get filled in, and there was a violation, and they restored it. Again, this is an ag. This is zoned ag. Was originally zoned ag. And so there was an ag use on there with the single family. So anytime you go in and alter drainage on an ag piece, you do need a limited development in order to show that, because we want to monitor, effects of the surrounding land uses. So the applicant went through this in depth. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I do want to point out that there is a natural resources condition that is very important, because this requires at time of development order, and the development order is where the engineer drawings come in and the landscape drawings come in, and the more detailed review happens. And in that process, prior to the approval, the developer has to provide a stormwater report. And in that stormwater report, there's models and calculations to demonstrate that how they're designing the new lake compensation area and then the filling in of the existing lake is not going to have a negative effect. It is going to convey water to support the project. So there will be monitoring and models maintained. And that condition says maintained during and following construction of the development. Because during the development, you're going to have that lake being filled in. So we have to monitor to make sure that if it's during the rainy season, you don't have runoff going on, the opposite properties. So that condition is condition 5. There are public services, so there is potable water and wastewater availability to support the project. The police, fire, and emergency services are close by. They're within 4 miles of the subject property. The master concept plan, I kind of went over showing the layout of the buildings and the display. There are some impacts to existing trees, which are shown on here. Any trees that are heritage and impacted will need to be replaced. That does not need to be conditioned. That's built in the land development code. And so for the industrial lead plan compliance, it is consistent with the future land use designation of intensive development. It's providing buffers and safeguards around the property to screen from the residents that are close by on the west and the east. There are public facilities. What is being displayed or and stored in the building are not explosive or toxic. So it does meet policy 7.1.1. As I mentioned, adequate buffers for policy 7.1.6. And then the stormwater management is utilizing green infrastructure. It will need to be planted according to our land development code in 10-418. And so that meets the policy 60.4.1 and the subsequent policies in that section, as well as 126.1.4. So with that, staff finds that the rezoning is recommended for approval with conditions. There is one condition that the applicant spoke to me about before the hearing, and staff agrees in the 48-hour letter. It would be condition 4D. And the way 4D is written, it's regarding the wall. And it says an 8-foot high wall must be depicted along all property lines. It's not all property lines. So it would be the east, the south, and the west. Is that correct? So that would need to be revised, but everything else, I believe the applicant agrees with the changes. Staff just revised it because in doing the PowerPoint realized that there was deviations approval, and a deviation approved for 4B, and there wasn't a 4B. And so I went through and renumbered them. And I'm here for questions if anybody has any questions.
I did not have any questions. Did applicant have any questions of the staff?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then with that, we will begin the public comment portion. As I said, I'm going to call the cards in the order that I have them. So when I call your name, if you could please come to the podium. The first one I have is for Ted Nicholas.
Yes, please.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
My name is Ted Nicholas. I own the Lazy J Mobile Home Park, which is directly south of this property. I also have 105 people that have signed that have asked for me to speak
Okay,
on their behalf.
thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Question. Just give me 2 seconds to get myself together.
Sir, if you need the site plan or anything up, just let me know. I have the aerial up, but I can move it where.
I can kind of move off of this, but I might ask you to borrow your pointer.
Oh, it's right underneath.
Oh, excellent.
On the shelf right there.
Is this it?
Little yellow, I mean, a little yellow, red.
Oh,
That's-
awesome.
That's the thing.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
I appreciate it. Okay. First part is this is not a consistent to what, nothing around it is industrial. And I'll point that, I know that we're looking for the old Sunbelt, which is Bobcat. They also, in Billy's Creek Industrial Center, which, let me find that, has a drive right here. You can see that their drive for equipment is right there. So it doesn't, all of their equipment is behind the building. The front is office, which would be consistent with its current zoning, not industrial. You don't have that same option here. You're looking to make this industrial. And we're talking about equipment, right? Heavy equipment. These Bobcats weigh 12,000 pounds. In the last development, a travel trailer weighs 4. It's more than 3 times weight value. And I have, I've been a builder developer for 30 years. I've been in the equipment business. I think I know more, but I've been proven wrong every time. So it's not consistent. Shell, who is building right here, they went for this spot and they couldn't get it through county because it's industrial. And what we're calling these homes here on Hamilton are 2 acres, so it's not really agriculture. It's a home with a big lot. At the time, they were well and septic, and you need at least an acre for septic. That's what these are. It's really not agriculture, as nobody really has animals and is growing vegetables other than a home garden. It's residential, along with all the way down Luckett. County bought these homes to make for a widening of the road. That's where you got your little dip here. But everything here is residential. Everything here is residential. Everything here is residential. So in reality, this does not even remotely conform to the area, and I'm adamant about it. But I'll continue on, it's on the record that way, right? Thank you. It is not even close to conforming. So let's start. We talked about industrials across the street. If you want industrial, go across the street. The difference is we're gonna start, and this is gonna be, do you mind if I call you Joe and Josh?
Josh.
Yeah, and Joel?
Yeah.
Josh, cool. You don't want my first names? Awesome, I'm Ted. Thank you. Let's start. How do I flip this?
Oh, what do you want to go to?
Just kind of their site plan, their ideally. I'm gonna start with the building and then we're gonna end up in water. We got a lot of area to cover.
Oh, let me get it. Hold on, let me get
Yeah, but even the one that shows, what, their preliminary drawing and plan. Put the buildings in, would you please? Yeah, that'll work. Can we blow that up?
Hold, please.
No, take your time, thank you.
I think towards the end you had the master plan, right?
How's that?
That's excellent. And I have my chicken scratch on your drawing. Sorry, Joel. It's like messing a Van Gogh. We touched on a natural swale that was on the property previously, but originally, let me give you some more supporting, which is plenty for it. Originally, the swale was 150 feet to the south, at least, and, these are just roughly. The previous owner decided to dump over 200 loads of concrete to build up his property.
Sure, thank you.
200 loads of concrete, which are right there, to build up his property, which I've had nothing but flooding. I go pump, it's been a pain. I don't sue my neighbor, but I was well in my right to do so, and I didn't.
So this was from 1998 to 2013, or 2014, excuse me.
So when he
Okay.
started dumping like 2012, which it is what it is. Pick your battles, they say. So what has happened is, we're gonna start at there. Let me just keep going. So the swale that they're showing is not really effective. I'm flooding now. I go and hydraulically pump, which is not very fun. We can't make it through the rainy season. The water's over our seawalls now. Speaking of seawalls, ton of erosion. Since we're on water, we'll continue the, can you actually give me the one that shows the squiggly lines? I could use this, actually.
I can give you.
And this is more Joel.
Let me
okay.
get you the squiggly
Would you
line.
please?
I believe I have it in my PowerPoint.
No, I saw it earlier. I'm like, ooh, I should have taken the page numbers.
Oh,
Here.
Keep going.
That works. That'll work. Okay, so as we're building, we are looking to, on my fence line, we're building an 8-foot tall sound barrier wall, right? Have you ever yelled over a body of water? What's the difference? 80% of mine is water. Why would it, the sound barrier wall is not gonna do me anything other than recreating Freedom Town, since there's not a bush, a shrub, nothing on my side. There's a 100-foot variance from this gentleman's house, and it's on your drawing that you're looking to cut it to 75, 100. That's from the peak of his roof that you metaled. That's not the lot. So you're a little off there in dimensions. But let's continue with the, you're creating a retention here that runs down your property line as you change the lake. This is where all your heavy industrial and ideas for mechanic and shop and tooling, which eventually runs into the lake that 90%, 80% of it I own. These are not runoffs. They're spring-fed lakes with a huge ecosystem. We have turtles. We have everything but an alligator, thank God. I got no fight with an otter. There's so much ecosystem in these lakes. We have fish. We have great stuff. And as we're running, and if you can look, I want to say it was 60 was, page 60 gives a lot. But we can stay here. You're following me, right? Okay. And first off, this is not industrial. It's not, I don't know if I made my point. But as your buildings are here, you have a retention here that runs down and fills your retention here that eventually runs into the lake as that overflows from both of these with all of the industrial oil. I don't know if you've ever been to a construction yard. Everything you're talking is diesel and heavy diesel oil and hydraulic fluid, which lines break. I own excavators, skid steers, and everything. Pavers. I own it all. I own these things. I understand what happens, and it's a pain, and you really have to work towards it. I'm interested to know what you're doing for triple traps, what you're doing for retention of the waste oil. If you go to Bobcat that you're looking to be across the street in the industrial area, they have 3,000 gallons of waste oil, and there's oil everywhere. It's just part of the job. So as we're running into those, but don't worry, I will not have a flooding problem as I currently do, because you're going to put a spillway out to Luckett Road, which has absolutely zero topography for a spillway.
Thank you.
And 800 feet, roughly, I counted it yesterday, 800 feet to a water runoff that runs under Luckett Road. We're just gonna call it a bulkhead that runs under Luckett Road into Billy's Creek, which is going dry because this isn't draining, which is causing all kinds of ecological issues. So we have some real holes in this plan. But let me get back on program. We tapped on the 70. We're looking to go from 100-foot variance to a 75, which you're not really measuring from the edge of the lot. That wouldn't give you 50. You're going from the guy's roof line. At least that's how it is on the plan. I didn't go measure it off. 17. Across the street, 71. Rental sales, and I imagine they're doing repair is what they would. If they're renting, they're going to do the repair in-house, right?
We'll ask I'm sorry, I should have said this. There's not questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can ask questions, but they're not answered right now.
Okay, that's
We're
fine.
taking notes, and then they'll address it at review.
Existing zoning was for RV trailers, weight difference, noise difference, no motors, no transmissions, nothing that's, plus there was for RVs, but it's a different type of animal than what we're talking now. The stormwater on the lake, 100 foot from the property, and reduced from, okay. Temporary, this is not consistent, no. We did that. We're gonna go back to that, which I pretty much answered, but I wanna get it on record, which is the original, the original swale. I just wanna give this in to you. And here's, on this picture explains, and I'm just looking to put it on the record, I'm sorry. This document shows no pitch on Luckett Road running to the bulkhead that runs under Luckett Road. Were you planning to, are they planning to cut the road to let an outlay? That this will do it, and the wash shed and mechanical room.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, sir.
So it did not develop over time, it was forced, it was, it was changed. Retail. As we're talking about no toxicity, which was, Beth, we said that nothing on the property will be toxic. That's a far cry from true. Being an industrial, solvents are used every day, oils are used every day. I mean, hydraulic fluid, which runs every one of these machines that they're looking at, it is toxic. No, we're not talking, poisonous, but for ecological, it's very toxic. I want to go back to, I know I touched on it, on the south side of their development, which is exactly on my fence line. This is not an improvement to my property, and it changes the value of every one of my homeowners. I mean, who wants to, this, on the plans, this will look like Freedom Town in Miami. It's a concrete wall and adds nothing to the livability of my 55 and older seniors. And as far as Mr. Estrada, who lives in that corner house, I want to know what he did to you. I can apologize for him. That's what I have. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Today, sir.
Thank you.
The next card I have is for Maria Sierra. You didn't want to speak?
She doesn't speak English, that's the only thing.
Okay, do we have I think the translator, did you want to translate her comments, maybe?
She's gonna.
Okay.
Pues ellos nomás están exponiendo, o tú tienes que exponer por qué no quieres.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yo quiero saber si ellos son las personas que si quieren comprar ahí.
I'd just like to know if these are the people that would like to buy our properties.
Okay, well, we're just taking questions. If you want to ask your questions, we'll take them and then they can answer that. But the
Oh.
ownership is not, they're only talking about the property that they own
Ellos
today.
nada más están hablando acerca de la propiedad que donde quieren desarrollar ellos. Ellos no quieren comprar.
No quieren comprar.
So they don't want to buy anything.
That's not, the goal of today's hearing is only to talk about the property that they already own. So if there is,
El día de hoy nada más van a hablar acerca de la propiedad que quieran desarrollar.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
that was the only question? Okay, thank you, thank you. The next question I have is for Mario Yasso. You didn't want to speak, sir? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next card I have is for Rodrigo Ramirez. You didn't want to speak? Okay, and that was neither Rodrigo or Fatima? Okay. Okay, the next card is for, let's see, Martin Becerra. You didn't want to speak, okay. There were 3 names on here. Did anyone on this sheet want to speak? Not speaking? No one? Okay. Thank you for coming. I just want to be sure that we've got everybody here. The last one I had was for Brenda Bass.
I've had everything answered.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak today? No? Okay. Then we can come back to the applicant and the staff. Did you need to collect any comments before we make rebuttal and closing comments, or are you ready to proceed?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome to go first if you have. Is there a question?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Beth. I'm going to run through this real quick. A couple of, we'll just do this. A couple of points just to clarify. The request today isn't there's not a significant drastic change to the master concept plan or the proposed storage areas that were previously approved. It is consistent generally with what was presented and currently approved. I would also make the point that with the enhanced landscaping, one point was made that there was no landscaping on the outside, external side of the wall. That's not accurate. All the landscaping required by the code is required to be on the outside facing side of the wall when installed. So there will be there will be landscaping, and I would actually make the point that the
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I can't hear what he's saying. I'm so sorry. If everybody could just hush tones and just wait. I think we're almost to the end, but I want to give everyone my attention. Thank you. If you could proceed.
Yeah, and I lost my train of thought there for a minute. So the proposed landscape buffers are actually in excess of what the existing zoning requires, and the proposed remediation area along the east provides a pretty significant enhancement of restoration, not only just buffering, but restoration of a natural native vegetation and protection of those existing heritage trees in the northeast corner. As far as the stormwater drainage, we are requesting, or we are proposing a modification to the stormwater management. And I think there's some misconceptions on that. One, that is permitted through South Florida Water Management District, who has jurisdiction over stormwater management in this area. Any improvements or changes or modifications to that stormwater system require approval through and permitted process through South Florida. And as Joel testified, the permanent solution of installing a concrete pipe, as was, or a permanent pipe under, from the existing lake to Luckett Road is a vast improvement over, a hand-cut swale that tends to be modified or not modified over time. So in addition to providing additional stormwater management areas on site with the improvement to the permanent connection from the existing lake to Luckett Drive, the proposed development will be an improvement to the area. Again, just going back to the staff, or the application and staff's review and the staff conditions of approval, we do agree that this site is consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the surrounding uses, and consistent with the intensive development, the intent of the intensive development future land use classification. And we do agree with the change, and I appreciate Ms. Workman pointing that out, or bringing up the change to condition 4D, that to indicate that a wall will not be located on the northern property line, but all the other property lines as indicated on the master concept plan. With that, I believe Joel
Just for a moment,
Blickstead has one.
on the uses, there was a question. So it's a very limited schedule of uses, and looking at it, the only ones of concern would obviously be the rental or leasing equipment group 4, and then the vehicle and equipment dealers. Do either of those anticipate repairs being done on site? That was a question.
Incidental to the primary operation of renting and leasing, but it is not going to be a vehicle repair shop, as where you bring a piece of equipment. Accessory to the leasing operation, yes, but not, it will not be a repair shop in the traditional sense. And again, any storage of materials, and through South Florida Water Management District, any oils and other, hesitate to use hazardous materials, but any oils are required to get permitted through FDEP, and a system in place with oil water separators, et cetera, for vehicle equipment areas. So
There's regulatory oversight from other agencies for those types of uses if there were any pollutant dangers.
absolutely, without question. And to that point, and maybe Joel can, I'm still in his thunder a little bit, but the stormwater system is designed to, as you noticed, or as was Joel pointed out, the berm is placed on the perimeter of the site to drain everything inward and not outward. So I believe that answers your question.
Thank you.
Joel, thank you.
Thanks, Josh. You know more about it than you care to let on. But yeah, just speaking about the stormwater, and first let me be clear. We recognize that there has been some issues with the flow, and nobody should have to pump their site out to deal with the stormwater. So we recognize that, and as part of this, want to be a good neighbor in restoring that historic flow. I know you mentioned that the swale was in a different location. From a stormwater perspective, it's neither here nor there, I guess, where the ultimate configuration is, as long as it goes to the place that it was originally supposed to go, which is Luckett Road. You mentioned about capacity on Luckett Road there. Unfortunately, that's out of our purview. That's county land, that their capacity. Our job is to provide the stormwater to its historic location, and that is Luckett Road. We can have discussions with the county about improving their conveyances through there and ultimately up into Billy Creek, but that unfortunately is outside of the purview of our property. We don't own that land. As far as the toxicity of the oils and the industrial waste that was mentioned, this is primarily a sales facility, and so it's likely going to be new construction equipment. We're not anticipating a major issue like you would in repair situations. Nevertheless, like Josh mentioned, we will be getting a permit, and that will be a consideration as part of our South Florida Water Management Permit. They are the ones that are responsible for not only the stormwater management, but the groundwater, which is going to be a concern. There will be conditions in place that will protect that as part of our permit. And then also, as previously mentioned, all the runoff is going to be directed on site. It's not going to be directed to the lake directly. And even the outfall pipe, and I don't know, Beth, if you could switch to the, I have the clicker. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, here we go. These drainage pipes that outflow to the lake will be control structures. So these will, water will be required to be treated here first. These will be what's termed as pre-treatment in South Florida terms. Pre-treatment for our site. And so the water that initially runs off from the site will have to go to on-site areas where it will be treated prior to going into the lake.
So will that, and I'm sorry, that's something if he chooses to answer, or you could have the discussion after the hearing, but the public comment closed. But I do have a question. So can you speak about the ERP permit requirements? I assume they're monitoring for water quality and water quantity and nutrient loading and those kinds of things?
That's correct, yes. Nutrient loading will be a requirement. As you may or may not be aware, FDEP now has a more stringent rule going in place in a few weeks or a few months from now, which will focus heavily on the nutrients for the site, and then South Florida focuses on both water quality and water quantity for the site. Like I mentioned, no flooding, and then that will address the industrial level runoff.
So given the timing, this project would be held to the new standards?
Absolutely.
The more stringent standards?
Absolutely, yeah. And then as far as treated, the treatment will be it hasn't fully been fleshed out yet, but the treatment will likely be catch basin. Within the catch basins themselves, there will be some sort of mechanism, whether it's what's called like Bold and Gold is like a words. Bold and Gold is a system that has technology. It's a media material that pulls nutrients and the pollutants out of the stormwater as it's filtered through that media. And so that will be one of the requirements that will be placed on these retention areas, is to have some sort of advanced media material so that as water percolates through these retention areas, it will be treated. It will pull those nutrients or those wastes out of that material before it gets into the groundwater. And then, like I said, there will be a runoff or an overflow that goes into the lake that will deal more with the quantity side of things. So
Thank you.
Josh, unless you had anything else.
Just one, yeah, just close real quick. I did want to address, I would request a copy of the signatures, I guess, that were submitted. And, while I won't object to the submittal, that submittal doesn't allow for any cross-examination of what was presented or what was said. And not having the opportunity to see what was presented at this time, it's hard to counter or discuss any of the issues that may have been presented. So I would just make that comment on the record. And with that, again, we feel like as submitted, the request meets the requirements of approval through 34-145 and is consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the surrounding area. So with that, we'll close, and if there's any other questions or concerns, we're ready to address them. Thank you.
Staff have any rebuttal that you wanted to submit?
No.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you both for all of we closed public comment, so again, you're free to speak to them after the hearing, and then we'll have the public comment closed, and so we can, I apologize. Okay, so with that, I have everything that I need to make my recommendation to the board. If you came today and filled out a card, you'll receive a copy of the recommendation once it's released, and then the item will be scheduled before the board, and you'll receive notice of that hearing as well, and you're welcome to attend that hearing. And if you spoke today, you can speak at the board hearing as well. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for the materials that I have. I am well prepared for this case, and I appreciate all the effort that went into it by the parties and the public for coming. Thank you. Everyone stay safe.